Hi, everyone. I'm here today with a special company, a company that I believe is the future of dental office front desk. There are a lot of questions about how a remote employee can work. And I asked Ahmad Damwala, right? Ahmad, did I say right?
Oh, that's right. You said it perfect.
And Ahmad, what's your position there, Ahmad? I forgot.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm the director of sales. I'll lead our sales
Director
team
of
here.
Sales, and a lot of our members have talked to you already. And then we have Harima Azzam. You're the Director of Training.
That's
Um,
right.
the remote employees that we like to call ambassadors, right?
Mhm.
At Edge. Ahmad is in my hometown of San Francisco, and Harima is in Pakistan, right, Harima?
That's correct.
So it must be getting late over there. Um,
It is.
so I wanted to actually first start by talking about the fact that why this is so important. A lot of our offices are having a hard time finding, um, qualified employees,
Mm.
and you guys do something special that you are actually picky who you hire for for this company as ambassadors. You're not just picking everyone that comes off of the street and oh let's have them answer Dr. Joe's phones. Ahmad, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's to your point, we've noticed a huge shift, especially since the pandemic of dental practices that, require employees to serve really in the front office, back office. Some of the tasks that we think about, right, that are huge headaches today is just answering the phone. And how difficult it is to find someone qualified traditionally from a local perspective to fill those roles. So we have really put a picky eye on who we consider a good fit for our dental practices. They go through training that I'm sure we'll cover a little bit later in this conversation. But ultimately, they serve as full-time employees to really help ease that workload that we're seeing from the tedious tasks.
Right, and it's really important. We want to uh, basically structure this conversation as in myths and facts,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of uncertainty about hiring. We
Mm.
never hired anyone from overseas. I know a lot of different companies do that, and unfortunately, there are a lot of myths, and we want to try to demystify those myths. That we are not, and I say we because I'm very involved in Edge, as a lot of my members know, and I advise them and try to make him a better company.
Mhm.
But Edge is not your regular T-Mobile um, customer service that you call into a call center and anybody can pick up, and half the time the connection is not good, or their English is not as good as it can be, and you
Right.
have these communications. I'm going to quickly just explain how Edge works. You guys give the office, the doctor, three choices. They interview these ambassadors, and
Yeah.
they pick one person out of those three, and that person becomes your employee, your remote employee. And then that employee goes back to Harima, right? Harima, you're the director of training, and you
Yep,
start training that employee for the software the doctor works, correct?
that's correct. I would add to that because even before they appear in interviews, they go through Edge proprietary training
Mhm.
and they have to, of course, pass that. And it's not easy to graduate because the passing average score is 85%. That is like an A grade. So if you haven't got an A grade in the 4-week training that we have, then you're not going to pass, you're not going to appear in interviews to begin with. So we do have a very stringent training program in place.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I didn't even know about that. So before they even become candidates, they go through a 4 week of training and they have to pass that. And what is that training about?
So the training involves both basic and a little more of high level courses as well. So the basic courses will involve Hipaa, and some clinical basics like the dental terminology. And the more technical ones would involve scheduling and eligibility breakdowns, prior auths, AR follow-ups, and amongst other things. So those are the few things that we train them on, apart from how to take care of patient phone calls as well. So we go through different scenarios like scheduling, um, recare calls, confirmation calls, all of the different scenarios that you can come across on the phones with patients. We practice all of them in training.
So 4 weeks before they become ambassadors, and then once we pick someone, they go back to training on your specific software, right? How long does that take?
So we try to make sure that that is as short as 1 week. The reason why that can be shorter to 1 week is because they also have practice on various EHR while they're in their 4-week training program as well. So our phone call practice does not just happen like a call like this. We have an EHR, a free software that we're working on. And so they are able to navigate through an EHR software. And nearly all EHRs work quite similarly. I know cloud-based and your regular open dental may work a little differently, but navigating an EHR is not too difficult once you get a hang of one, right? So that's why the 1 week client-specific training, if you want to call it that, becomes very easy once they are onboarded with the client.
Right. And a lot of dentists are not familiar with the word EHR, so that's electronic health records. We consider it as a practice management software. So basically, you get 4 weeks training on different software and learn the basics and how to navigate it. And once you find out what the doctor uses, you take a week and says, okay, this is, you learned about insurance breakdown on this software, you do it this way, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to look at my notes and go through this list of things that we discussed that I want to answer for my members. And these are the questions that have come up over the conversations I've had with many of the members who are considering Edge. This remote employees are they qualified, or are they as qualified as our employees here in the United States? Ahmad, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very fair assumption to make that a overseas employee may not be as qualified as the local traditional hire. One piece I want to go back on real quick in regards to our conversation about meeting 3 individuals, right? And if I was to just schedule a dental practice for an interview, Harima and her team would come to me and say, well, tell me specifically about this practice, right? How do we just select 3 individuals to place in this interview? So even prior to that, we'll do a deeper discovery and really understand not only what the practice is looking for, but also what do they value in a team member joining, right? How do we make that transition so seamless where really it does feel even smoother than a in-person hire? So just wanted to throw that in there. In regards to qualified individuals and how it compares to, let's say, a local hire. So a couple key takeaways here for our dental practice partners is that, number one, all of our Edge associates at the minimum do come with a bachelor's degree, right? So they go through prestigious organizations. We have done internal changes on our side, roughly about a year ago, to really target the top 1, 2, 3% of graduating classes yearly. And so we're able to get really, really top talent. But what we've also found is, roughly 25, 30% of our associates today actually do have further education. That may be a master's, a PhD, potentially even, completing dental school, which is more of a rarity, but nonetheless, it does exist. Once they go through that hiring process and really are able to bypass being hired, which is, less than 1% of our total applicants is who we're actually hiring today. They go through background checks. We put them in that Edge Academy that Harima mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation, typically a 5-week total in regards to 4 weeks generalized training, 1 week specific. And really the utmost goal of this, Dr. Bob, is one, making sure that our dental practice partners are matched with high quality individuals, but then also limiting that ramp time in terms of training.
Yeah, I want to kind of stress this again. You mentioned it. All of your candidates have a bachelor degree, and some
Right.
masters, PhDs, and some have dental school. And I want to bring this up to our members, is that a lot of people may not realize this. And in different countries, the spots in universities are limited. It's not like here that you can decide to go to a college and you just sign up and you take courses. The brightest and the best of the population get to go to universities in a lot of third world countries. So when you hear someone has a bachelor degree in Pakistan, they have to understand these are smart people. They're very, very capable of handling simple jobs such as a dental office, answering phones and things like that. I just wanted to bring that up because I am familiar with that part of the world, and I know that it's not the same. These are very bright and loyal people.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dr. Bob. I've been here about a year and a half at Edge, and it's still in every single interview that I sit in on, I am surprised because the talent level is truly out of this world. Of course, the English language is something that they comprehend very, very quickly, and accent is limited to none, but just very sharp individuals who are looking to make impactful strides within a US-based dental practice.
Right, exactly. The other subject that usually comes up, and we have it down to discuss, is that dental offices are small businesses, and small businesses always rely on personalized connections with the quote unquote clients, patients, customers, whatever you want to do. The question comes that how does someone in Pakistan understand how a business in America runs? Harima, how do you explain that?
So for that, I will look at this problem through, two steps. One is, of course, the hiring step that we have, right? Like Ahmed mentioned, that less than 1% of candidates that apply to Edge end up getting selected. And our HR team handpicks candidates with healthcare background. So it has increasingly over the time, it has become a requirement that you have to have a healthcare background of some degree in order to get through to Edge. So on the Peru side, most of our candidates have a medical interpretation background. So they have had years of experience of being in a setting where a patient is upset or a patient is going through their medical issues, and the Peruvian medical interpreter would be helping navigate through that conversation by translating everything that the provider is saying to their native language. And that requires utmost, excellent listening skills, excellent empathy as well. And on the Pakistan side, we're getting mostly people with medical backgrounds, like either doctors or dentists, pharmacists, psychologists. So we're getting those people applying to Edge, and those are the people that are getting accepted. Another factor that we look for is definitely coachability and cultural awareness. So a lot of the people that we hire either have international exposure or they're extremely coachable, right? These are the two biggest factors that we're looking for in our candidates. And then that paired with the Open Academy, the Edge proprietary training that I was talking about earlier, that just makes the perfect fit for dental practice. And like I said, we look for empathy, and that is the biggest factor because our associates come with a medical background already or a healthcare background. They understand empathy, and they understand that whenever you interact with a patient, you have to make sure that you are owning that patient and they own their dental practice as well, the one that they're working with. So these are a few factors that make Edge employees the perfect fit as remote employees for dental practices.
So basically, you guys are going to train them how to understand a small business in America. A lot of people, yes, we are healthcare professionals, but we're also small businesses. We need to rely on relationships. So you guys train them when it comes to talking on the phone, talking to patients and things like that, right?
Yeah. And we also let them know the entire process. Of course, in different countries, the healthcare process is different. So they go through how US insurances work. How does the healthcare insurance work? The difference between medical and dental insurances. They learn everything about the dental processes and how insurance works and how it can impact a patient's healthcare as well. So through the Edge proprietary training, they learn about all of these minute details, and they're able to take care of patients with utmost patient quality care.
I want to again stress this. This is really important, and this is one of the reasons I picked Edge to be involved with it, because you guys do have competitors. There are other companies that talk about, yeah, remote employee here and remote employee there. I think the biggest factor for someone to consider Edge is the level of training that you guys do for the ambassadors. In other words, they're not just walking in there not knowing what a yearly maximum is. They know all of this. They know how to handle an insurance call. I have to be honest with everyone, is that like I have so many members that have signed up for this service, and they send me a message of like, oh my God, I should have done this sooner. So it's a really amazing story that for me, to this day, I mean, I hire someone from Edge, and I'm about to hire someone else, a second person. It's a game changer. Hey, Amma, can you tell me, they didn't, these are not in order. Harima, talk to me about how the setup is connecting the dental office systems to someone in Pakistan. Is this going to be complicated? Is it? How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so of course that could be a major concern because we're like miles and miles apart. But of course that is made easy by including our IT department onto the onboarding process, right? So our IT department will help the clients make sure that all the integration is smoothly done. And even with practices that don't have the right tech in place, our IT department is so competent that they can recommend the best tech to use based on what our clients use as well. So that process is made seamless by our IT department being involved in the process.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, IT is my hobby, and I know, and I've dealt with the technology of Edge. I have thoroughly examined it, and I know that it's very secure, and you guys have a lot of smart IT people in the IT department. I've talked to a few of them. What I also wanted to ask you, Harima, is this myth that communicate. I mean, obviously you're a perfect example of it, but it's the myth that communicating with remote employees in different countries are there is a language barrier that's difficult. And I've heard actually complaints about one of your competitors that it was hard to understand them. What do you say about that?
Right. Of course, I understand having like Pakistan or Peru may not have the most visibility in the world, and the visibility that they get may not be the best picture or may not be the most accurate picture. But the reality of the fact is, like Emin mentioned, that all of the candidates that we hire come at least with a bachelor degree, right? Now, when we talk about a bachelor's degree in Pakistan, the mode of communication is English. All the courses that they take are in English, all their coursework is in English. So they're learning this language from even when they're little kids, right? So English is our second language. And then on top of that, of course, our HR team makes sure that applicants are put through a series of comprehension tests along with the rigorous interview process that we have, right? And this is further vetted when they go through the Edge proprietary training that lasts up to 4 weeks. So we make sure that the most well-rounded candidates make through to the interview process with dental practices, right? So yeah, I believe that the HR team does a great job vetting and making sure that the accent is little to none. And then, of course, they're further vetted during the training process. So I would say that that's really not an issue.
Yeah, and to me, accent is part of America. We have so many different cultures being in the melting pot, what we call the USA. So I'm not worried too much about the accent, but I'm understanding the English language is a complicated thing, and incorporating that into a dental practice is what most people are concerned about, and you guys take care of that. You guys make sure, what did you say, 1 to 2% of all the candidates get to work for you guys, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. The other question that had come up from members and everybody else is that they're not as reliable. How do we know they're working? How do we know it's it's halfway around the world? How do I know that they're doing what they're supposed to, and if they even going to show up to work? What do you say about that?
So I would say that the key to resolving all of these issues is, of course, just the way you would set the right expectations with an in-house employee, you have to do the same thing for a remote employee, right? Because they are your employee and you are in charge of setting the right expectations and also providing the appropriate communication channels, right? So if these two things are in place, then, and of course, we make sure that the associates that we get or the associates that we place with dental practices are loyal, are reliable, are trustworthy, and are diligent, right? So we make sure that they own the practice that they're working with. Like I said earlier, taking ownership of your work is so crucial. And you may think that when, you're working remotely, you may not take ownership of your work. You may dip here and there, but that's not true. And one more way that we take care of it is we have an Edge team that does regular check-ins with the client, with the associate as well. We have a very strong client success team, and every dental practice that signs on with us gets a dedicated client success manager as well. So you have that one point of contact that you can speak to, and they know where the associate is. We also have a very good office space in Pakistan and also in Peru, so our associates can go into the office as well. And we have the HR team over there, and it's a great working environment, right? But making sure, I'll go back to the first point, that making sure that expectations are set right from the get-go and communication channels are there in order for the associate to be able to communicate with you and your team members as well, right? And Edge actually co-creates the right expectations with the client when they're onboarding their associate. So we know exactly what the client wants, how the communication is going to flow, and we make sure that our associate is there every single day. And if anything happens, of course, we make sure that our associates are aware that communication is key. And even working remotely, it's an even bigger reason for you to have strong communication skills, right? Because you're working remotely. So we vet that in HR process, hiring process as well, and also the training process.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any other thing in the dental office. We need systems. If you have the right system in place, they'll be successful. When I hired Amna in the beginning, we basically sat down and with my office manager, and we said, this is how she's gonna do this part and how she's gonna communicate with us. You gotta give yourself some time to get used to this idea. It's not plug and play. It's a different thing. You may be stressed for a week or two, but after the first couple of weeks, you realize that it was one of the best decisions you've ever made. Hey, Ahmad, talk to me about the loyalty factor. I mean, it's kind of strange because we have the same issues with employees here in America. So right. How does that work with ambassadors in Pakistan or Peru?
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point, right? It regardless of where you're at in the world, there will be definitely a direct correlation between someone feeling valued as an employee and then doing good work and being extremely loyal, et cetera. And so what we have found, especially on the Edge side in Pakistan and Peru, is that remote employees can be just as loyal as local employees if their employer does offer competitive compensation, benefits, empowers them to spread their wings in a dental practice, and ultimately opportunities for career advancement. And ultimately, in regards to Edge specifically, we do offer high competitive packages when it comes to salary, when it comes to benefits that are really not comparable to the country's standard, right? And I know earlier we spoke about competitors and some of the negative experiences practices have had with like-minded companies that offer remote employees. But truly, when you compare apples to apples, if you are looking at a remote employee companies, it's almost a 3-to-1 pay difference, right? And because of this specific reason, along with individuals wanting the opportunity to work for a US-based dental practice, our retention rate today is above 97%, right? And what that says to our partners on the dental practice side is that they are getting someone who will be a long-term fit, who is loyal to that practice as long as they feel valued as an employee.
Right. Again, let's reiterate that you guys are paying 3 times
Right.
more than other industries in Pakistan. Is that what you're saying?
That is absolutely correct.
Wow, impressive. And the next subject I want to bring up is security.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh my God, how are we going? And I kind of consider myself an expert on this, and I have checked you guys thoroughly. The fact that someone else is accessing your information, it doesn't matter where they are. You have the same risks with your regular employees if they're on, it's lunchtime and they're shopping somewhere, and all of a sudden something is installed on the computer, or you have an employee that is going to do some malicious things. I mean, it's the same exact thing. But what do you guys have in place to help with the security and the HIPAA laws and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And when Dr. Bob says that he has vetted us, please trust him when he says that, because not only has he, vetted us, but he has some of his industry partners that are really big on the IT and security side vet us, right? And so, look, it's fair to say that it is the number one concern that dentists, especially those who have not considered remote employment before, do experience. The number one concern is security, is maintaining a safe environment for patient data, patient information. And really at Edge, we do take that very, very seriously. So a couple of key takeaways, Dr. Bob, for your members is that as an organization, we are US based. We are located in Mountain View, California, specifically. We do have headquarters in both Pakistan as well as Peru, both in capital cities, specifically Islamabad on the Pakistan side, Lima on the Peruvian side. And these are not what you think of when you think of outsourced centers. These are not call centers. These are very modern technology offices where each individual has their own cubicle space. But when we specifically think about software and security, we are SOC 2 certified as an organization, right? And for those of you unfamiliar with SOC 2 certification, it is the highest level of cybersecurity that you can possibly achieve. We do that through DRADA. Outside of that, Edge is a completely HIPAA compliant organization, right? But what would HIPAA compliancy on an organization matter if our members weren't HIPAA compliant? So to answer that question, all of our members are HIPAA compliant. They go through regular confidentiality training as well. Additional to all of that, Edge does offer a BAA, a business associate agreement from a company perspective to ensure that our dental practice partners are super secure. And a couple other pieces that I can throw out there is all of our equipment is provided by Edge, right? So associates cannot access any type of information, whether it be logging into a PMS system, whether it be an email domain through their own equipment. It does need to be through Edge equipment, which does come with a HIPAA compliant VPN as well. And for anyone unfamiliar with the VPN, the easiest way to describe it is a system that encrypts all patient data, all information in general, and allows access to be through a very, very safe means. But outside of all of that, our associates are going through HIPAA training, through confidentiality training, through cybersecurity training every 6 months. And really for us, that's what allows us to maintain that trust in our partners.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention here that although people in the dental world are new to this concept, you guys have been providing ambassadors to the medical community and to the insurance community as well, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so you do have to keep with the highest standards. So when I hear some dentists voice their concern about security, and then I talk to them and see what habits they have in their practices, trust me, their computers in Pakistan is more secure going through Edge than what you're doing or not doing in your office. Ahmad, talk to me about the fact that some people may say, hey, I have this office and I have a certain culture, my patients are used to it. How am I going to get my ambassadors, my remote employees, to sign up for this culture, to believe in this culture? It's going to be difficult.
Right. And I think we go back to what was remote employment or outsourcing seen as prior to COVID, and what is it seen as today? And I think number one, when we look at it pre-COVID, when all of us were used to being in person in our roles, it really was outsourcing to handle a couple tasks. It might be billing, it might be, certain after-hour tasks. And how that's changed from a remote employee perspective today is this is truly a member that replicates your work hours, that is available to not only your patients, but of course, members of your staff, and a true member of your team. We always recommend, when really doing the first step of the process, which is a discovery call and working with our dental practices, is really, are you looking for someone to join your team on a full-time level that directly will represent your team? Or are you looking for someone to be outsourced and handle a couple tasks? Because if it is the latter, then as an organization, we are not the right fit. Remote employees can be integrated into the company's culture and values. And it really starts on day one, setting the right expectation, asking what characteristics you look for a true team member, and then communicating that to Harima and the training team, and making sure that we are matching, one-to-one to that. In our onboarding, in our training, communication, feedback, being a part of company events is something we always recommend to both parties, from an associate level, but then also on the practice level. And what Harima mentioned earlier, we have a client success team. Each practice is designated a client success associate or manager to really handhold, to ensure that both parties build that relationship into something that can be very, very positive. And within that are the practices cultures, it is the practices workflows, and ensuring that both parties are aligned. So for us, we see it as something that's very successful when an associate is able to go right into that culture and start effectively performing within that.
And that's one of the things that attracted me to Edge, is that the commitment the company shows to the success of this relationship.
Right.
Nobody wants a one and done. You want to basically hire someone and be so happy about it, that you want to hire a second person. And it benefits the company if this relationship is successful. It benefits the dental practice if this relationship is successful. So I know this for a fact, that you guys are not just there to collect the fee and then just give someone to someone and say, oh, okay, next month they may not be happy and let's drop them. That's not the way Edge works.
Right.
These are long-term relationships that we're trying to build, right?
Right, absolutely. And Dr. Bob, I'm sure, based on how much I hear it, I'm sure you hear this every day, but every single, dentist, administrator, or really anyone that contributes to the front office will tell you how tired they are of having to train someone, having them leave after several months, right? It's backbreaking in the sense that time wasted, financial aspect of things as well. So yeah, really our goal is match one-to-one culture, dynamic, and ultimately blossom into something long-term.
Right. Which kind of brings me to the next topic, that, as a small business, we're always concerned about cost. People start thinking, oh, this is probably going to cost me so much money. But they don't realize how affordable this can be, and how you can basically cut your costs in certain area. This is what I tell people,
right?
And take that savings into areas where you cannot use a remote employee. Talk to me about this, the myth that this is going to cost me too much.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one that we get quite often. Of course, this is a full-time position, and we do not offer part-time services today, but even when you're comparing full-time to part-time, likely it's still saving you money, which is pretty insane. For us, when we look at our key values to a dental practice, really it is one, making sure we're providing someone who's a very, very strong fit, someone who comes from a strong background that can be a team player, but then also, of course, to be cost effective and efficiency, right? It's a key piece. So Number one, when we look at what the services are outside of the full-time associate who would be helping with the tasks, Edge does offer a complete HR ecosystem, right? And what that means is we're taking care of training, we're taking care of equipment, infrastructure, payroll, benefits, really just having the practice focus on the tasks that need to be taken care of. Everything else is taken over by Edge. What we have found, Dr. Bob, is that on average, practices are saving anywhere really between 30% on a very conservative level to really 60 to 75% based on where they're located geographically. It can be a huge savings. And really on top of that, when you consider in their background, their educational background specifically, and what they bring to the table, it's a very dramatic cost savings.
Yeah, and that's how I write it and talk to my members is that, look, employee tax, benefits, workers' comp, these are all taken care of by the company. You just pay one simple fee. And one of the other things that people don't realize is that this does not happen a lot, but if an office has an issue with an ambassador and wants to change that ambassador, it's just a quick call to you guys, right? And say, hey, this didn't work out for me. Can I have another candidate? And you don't have to go through all the things that you usually have to go through here in the United States and Canada to basically terminate employment. It's basically all taken care of by your HR department, which is Edge, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, we go through, the whole purpose of us doing a deeper discovery and asking who would be the right fit early on is to avoid the situation, right? And successfully, we have been really we've been able to avoid this situation. Of course, it can happen, right? We do deal with humans, and that results in certain situations arising, but not too often. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, if someone is not the right fit, our goal is to make the transition as easy to the next associate that would be representing them. So by all means, yes.
Right. And as far as the cost goes, I want everybody to know that because of our relationship, that my group and Edge, there is a group special. I mean, I don't want to go through the details, but if you fill out the form on our landing page, they can directly talk to Ahmad or somebody else that they can explain to them what those costs are. Harima, talk to me about the experience the other side of the counter feels dealing with ambassadors, meaning the patients, when a patient calls. And I can also vouch for that myself, because I actually asked my patient, what did you think about my new employee? And nobody basically knew that this person was not only not in the office, but not in the country either. But talk to me how the acceptance of patients are regarding this.
So yeah, this is something that I'm extremely proud of, because I know that it could be a common concern among dentists, especially that their patients may not feel comfortable communicating with a remote employee. But like you said, and tying everything together, the way we set up the IT, the tech, the software, the voice over IP, and all the software that we set up, and the communication skills that our associates are able to deploy. And the fact that all of the health associates that we hire, there is a requirement for them to have a healthcare background to begin with. I did talk about earlier that Peruvians have experience of being medical interpreters, and then on the Pakistan side, we have doctors or dentists. So they do come with patient care experience, and they know that empathy is crucial when it comes to any or all patient interaction, right? And a testament to that, like you said, is the raving reviews that Edge associates get from patients that they interact with. And some patients even go as far as sending presents to the dental practice for the Edge associates, and they don't even know that they're not in the practice. And sometimes patients walk in and say, hey, I want to meet that person that I spoke to over the phone, and they're not there. So that process is so seamless. Of course, tying everything together with the hiring process, with the training process being so stringent, making sure that the people that come with the medical background, they are trained even further in patient communication. They are made aware of how a U.S. dental practice works, and they're able to seamlessly integrate into the practice. aided with the correct expectations that are set by the dental practice itself and the communication channels that they're provided. And it is all really a seamless process. So yeah, that is something that we're really proud of, that patients are generally very, very happy interacting with the Edge associates.
That's great. Yeah. And I, as I said, I'm a witness to it myself. My patients had no issues with this. I want to kind of like stress the important parts that we talked about today. Number one, there is no language barrier. You know, people grow up, learning English, and they know how to communicate. The second important point that we talked about was the security. And my IT friend and my IT sponsor, Anthony, and his company Techspedient looked into you guys. His wife hires someone from you guys right now, and he was telling me that the security that you guys have is better than security of a lot of these IT companies here in America. So for me, that is a non-issue. But the most important thing, I want people to understand that the world has changed since the pandemic, and we need to compete. Small offices like myself, we have to compete. We cannot continuously get low reimbursements from insurance companies and our costs going up. This is one way to basically control your cost with a quality product. You're not replacing, please, everybody tells me, you're not replacing your whole front desk. You're hiring someone to free your important front desk person to do those face-to-face communications and not be on the phone with the insurance company for 2 hours or confirming or trying to call insurance to see where the checks were. Those are the things that the remote employee can do. So your important face-to-face communication is done in the office. Do you guys have anything else to add here? Ahmed, go ahead if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's yeah, Dr. Bob, this, it's been, a delight being partnered with you and getting exposure to dental practices. And we keep finding the exact same thing, is that every single practice needs help, right? And because of you, Dr. Bob, our demand has skyrocketed as well, right? So we can point out that, and we're super thankful for that. I think what we found in partnering with this organization is that our quality needs to stay really top level, right? And that is something we continue to strive for, while of course remaining cost efficient. But ultimately, sometimes what we find with our dental practice partners is that there are these hesitations in place. So what we would say is, of course, watch this video, or if you have watched up until this point, hopefully, some of those things are taken care of, but have a conversation with us and we can walk you through specifically what we do in a more detailed manner.
Great. And Harima, we're going to end with your closing remarks. Do you have anything to add? How is your experience working for Edge, living in Pakistan? What are your takes on the company?
Oh, wow. Just for everyone's knowledge as well, my journey with Edge started as an associate. So I have been an Edge associate myself for an insurance agency. They had 6 offices in Connecticut, and I know what it's like to work. And I know even getting hired, the hiring process, it was pretty stringent even back then in 2020. I joined Edge back in August of 2020 as an associate, and the work was seamless. My employer they never felt that they had some communication gap, or they were finding it difficult to get a hold of me, or they were finding it difficult to have deadlines met. Everything was done so seamlessly as if we were sitting in their office. The only thing that we weren't taking care of course, like you said, was in-person interaction with clients. So my experience has been great. And then moving into the training department, everything that I learned, implementing that in a training program that we have created with the help of industry professionals as well. The director of our client success is a dentist of 20 years. So she oversaw all of the training programs being put together. And we're so proud of what we have put together and seeing it come to life. And like I said, patients being happy, the clients being happy. So it's so far it's been a great experience, and I only see it getting better with the different innovations that we're coming up with innovations in training or innovations in hiring processes as well. So everything is becoming more and more efficient, and the quality is getting better and better by the day.
Great, great. Thank you. One thing, you and I have talked about this, but we haven't mentioned is that I get lots of these posts on different groups and everything. It's like, oh, what do you guys recommend for insurance billing? Or what do you recommend for insurance verification or this and that? And it always bothers me because these companies get this fee just for one function. And
Right.
I've always said, why not hire a remote employee and give him all these tasks? Call the
Yeah.
insurance companies for verification, call the insurance companies, or send bills, send claims. So when they ask me, what do you have these people do in your office? And I'm like, it's just like a regular employee that you would have. You train them and you have set expectations to do these tasks. Now, I know one thing that they don't accept credit cards. They can't take, is that still true, right? They don't take payments over the phone. And that's for security reasons, correct?
Right. Yeah, we don't recommend it. And yeah, to your point, I mean, when you really think about pricing and value, I mean, we haven't even discussed consolidation of multiple organizations that are potentially providing, a couple tasks here and there. So the ability to save is likely a lot more than that 35% on a conservative level. But to your point, yes, this is your full-time employee. We always set the expectation that knowing every practice is unique, has their own unique workflows, to set some time aside for training. But ultimately, yes, once you build that trust within Edge, within the associate, by all means, allow them to spread their wings and really benefit your practice more.
Right. And it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. And I thank you both for being here. I'm hoping to have some more of these conversations as questions come up.
Right.
But for now, if anyone likes to get a demo by Edge, we will have the landing page link in the caption of this video.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Bob, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Great. Thank you. Nice meeting you, Harima.
Same here.